Hey everybody, Tony D with a hot take. Al Jazeera says protesters, more like rioters, knocked down Roosevelt Lincoln statues in Portland. This has been all over the news. They knocked down 2 more statues in Portland. These Portland guys are idiots. They continue to knock down statues. I guess they think they're in a revolution. They're not. They're just being very, very stupid. They're going to go to jail. And in fact, there was another article here from KGW, Channel 8, but I'm not going to click on it because I had a bunch of ads and stuff that were very loud. It sounds as if the local DA or prosecutors are getting sick of this stuff. Sounds like they're actually going to prosecute people. I think that's probably because the DNC on a national level has said, hey, this isn't helping us anymore, if it ever did. Don't let this go on. Do whatever you want. So they're finally sort of half-ass taking back the streets. They're also looking bad because, the federal government's doing a better job than they are. Andy No, of course, has all the information. These are more people who were arrested during the riots. And at the same rally, they called it a day of rage riot. Antifa shot inside a Portland cafe owned by a military veteran. Heroes American Cafe was the target of rioters after the establishment was categorized as, quote, unfriendly business by Antifa accounts on Twitter. And Andy tweeted this a few days ago, and he's got those tweets further down. They were organizing this. They were compiling a list of unfriendly businesses in Portland and targeting them specifically if they post like Blue Lives Matter or anything they consider anti-BLM message. I don't know how supporting the cops is anti-BLM, but there you go. BLM is just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. It's Marxist nonsense now. If it ever did have a message, it's completely lost and tainted. The entire movement needs to be jettisoned. And if you want to do police reform, a new movement has to emerge because BLM is completely tainted by Marxism, by these crimes, by these idiots that they've allowed in. The Antifa guys have ruined it all. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, of course, says President Trump's comments condemning the Antifa rioters as, quote, animals puts Native American communities at risk. No, it doesn't. Almost anyone in his age group, once they hear, hey, they toppled Teddy Roosevelt and Lincoln statues, would totally use that terminology. People are upset about this lawlessness. No one likes this. And where is Ted to address that? Nowhere. And most of these rioters aren't Native American. They aren't people of color. They're white college students who have been radicalized, you moron. And a lot of them hold racist beliefs. This critical race theory has ruined people. Oh, but Ted, he's so virtuous and wonderful. He thinks he's going to somehow score some points and keep being the mayor of Portland. He's out either way. I think Little Miss Antifa is going to crush him in the upcoming election. Excuse me. But during the riot, they broke into a Afro-American heritage or a museum that held the Afro-American Heritage Bicentennial Commemorative Quilt. It was stolen and then recovered, but it's damaged. So these idiots, I don't know why they would steal that, but they don't have much of a plan. I mean, the advantage of Antifa is they have all these cells and they're all very disparate and they're hard to link together, although they film themselves constantly and put it on the internet, and they're constantly organizing on the internet. I think the FBI does have a handle on it because they're so brazen in their attempts, especially on the internet. Why wouldn't they use the internet? But the actual results are so all over the place. They don't know what they're doing. Like, why would you steal this? I mean, if you support Black Lives Matter, even under their weird critical race theory and Marxist dogma, I mean, this would be against that, I would assume. I would assume you wouldn't have anything against an Afro-American Heritage Bicentennial Commemorative Quilt, but go figure. These people, again, they looked like they were going to attack a police station. Looks like the police shut them down and made arrests before they became violent. So the police were there. But with the statues and whatnot, I guess they were stretched pretty thin. And it's a shame. At least they did catch some of the guys involved in the statue and the museum damage. They caught one guy who was involved in pulling down the Teddy Roosevelt statue, allegedly. And another guy they suspect is the guy who smashed up the windows of the museum. So, and I tell you again, Antifa morons, one of you is talking. Many of you are talking. You are not going to last well under pressure, under actual pressure from the federal government. And now that the local government seems to start turning against you, you got no allies there. Yeah, this woman here apparently was let go a bunch of times. It says, according to Andy, serial riot arrestee Tracy L. Molina has deleted her Twitter account, implicating herself at the Antifa Day of Rage in Portland that resulted in the toppling of the statues. It's not a good sign. It's a sign she knows she's in trouble. I would imagine that the FBI, if they're involved, has that all, even the cops, even the local cops may have your entire Twitter feed saved somewhere. So deleting it may not have helped you. And that you've been arrested 7 times isn't going to help you in court either. They're going to throw you, once they get you on something, they're going to throw the book at you, in my opinion, because you've been arrested 7 times. It's a pattern of behavior. So, and the shooting is, an escalation. As I said, I think Antifa is, in terms of their membership, is going to start to shrink and shrink and shrink. But the remaining members are going to be pressured to do more. Because without the mob of people, if you show up and there's 300 people and you go on a rampage, and then, days later you show up and there are only 50 people, you can't do the rampage the same way. And in fact, you run the risk that the cops are just going to scoop you all up, like they seem to be trying to do. And if that happens, well, then your plans change. And so I think that may be partly what they're doing, right? They're shifting back. Well, let's tear down some statues, or we'll smash up some places and other places, so we won't all get, locked up at the same time. It's just a matter of time before they get to you. And then when they get down to, say, dozens of the hardcore guys who are still running around, that's when you really have to watch out. That's when, we already had this shooting. He wasn't Antifa, but the Denver shooting seems to be at least very sympathetic to the left. Was at BLM events, apparently, is my understanding. But when you're talking about these hardcore Portland Antifa guys, these guys have been on the front lines for a while. I think they've probably become more radicalized, so it's likely they'll escalate even more. When they're down to a few dozen guys, that's when it's going to get scary. That's when I think these guys are going to get weapons and then, go out in the blaze of glory, unfortunately. So hopefully the police will get these guys in jail. Maybe if they round them all up, put them in jail for a while, maybe they'll rethink their life choices. I gotta hope. A handful of them just won't. A handful of them are just probably radicalized forever, and they're probably going to be like the right-wing guys who got radicalized back in the 90s, but slightly worse, I think, because the current radicalization of left-wingers is more pointed towards violence. The right-wingers they went in that general direction a lot of times, but it was more the result of frustration of the legal means not working sometimes. Whereas the left guys never even tried the legal ways, really. They kind of are like cutting to the chase. They want revolution. The right-wing guys kind of talked about that, but I don't know how serious they were about revolution necessarily. They made some noise about it, but it wasn't the all-encompassing part of their goal. The left-wingers seem almost to a man down with the revolution. And you have mainstream guys like, Keith Olbermann, seems to be supporting that. You have, on Andy's feed here, you have a woman, this woman here is running for Congress and apparently is a candidate for Oregon's 1st District. And she's got it on her Twitter account here, One Solution Revolution. And she's bragging about bringing down the statues. We brought down 2 statues. Essentially admitting she was part of it. Whose street? Our street. Stolen people, stolen land. Portland protest. She's convinced she's doing good. And in the end, I think a person like her is probably just going to end up in jail. It's unfortunate. But until the cops round up enough of these morons and put them in jail, and then we start to see them turn away from this stuff because it's like, oh my God, I just spent 3 months in jail. I am not doing this anymore. And then they get confronted by their former comrades who didn't go to jail. Hey man, come on, you're out of jail. Let's go riot. Whoa, no dude, I'm out of this. I'm out. You don't want to go to jail. Trust me. Like that kind of conversations, those need to happen. And when that starts to happen, that's going to start to eat away at the ranks of Antifa even more. Some of them won't listen. Some will say, oh man, you sold us out and blah, blah, blah. But, some of them will go, wow, I mean, if so-and-so, can go to jail and turn, well, maybe I need to get out of this. So, if you're in Antifa, get out. If you know someone in it, tell them to get out. Otherwise, you're going to jail.